Olá pessoal, sejam bem-vindos. O vídeo de hoje é super especial, eu tô com um convidado internacional, o Jeff Spiegel. Ele trabalha na BlackRock e a gente vai aprofundar bastante no tema de mega tendências, principalmente relacionado à tecnologia. Esse vídeo ele vai ser gravado em inglês, então eu vou passar aqui para o inglês em breve, mas vocês vão conseguir acompanhar tudo com a legenda em português. Então, para quem não fala inglês, não tem problema, vai ter legenda em português. E já aproveita, deixa seu like aí e vamos começar. Jeff, thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So, Jeff, let's start by knowing what BlackRock is and what exactly you do there, please.
So BlackRock is a global asset manager. We manage approximately $10 trillion for investors of all sizes all around the world. At BlackRock, I've actually been at the firm for 10 years. It'll be 10 years as of this Saturday. And I'm responsible, thank you so much. And I'm responsible for our thematic ETF business. So that's products that invest in everything from amazing innovation themes like cybersecurity to individual countries like Brazil, to subsectors of the economy. Think things like semiconductors. I'm responsible for building these ETFs and for a lot of BlackRock's views on how investors can invest in many of these themes.
That's great, and those are a lot of themes that people are paying more attention to these days, right? And they're called like Megatrends, right? Why are they called Megatrends? Could you go a little bit further on the theme? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they're called megatrends because, simply put, they're the biggest trends that we see out in markets. And not just for investors, but really the trends that are transforming people's lives on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes we also refer to these as mega forces. Either way, the idea is the same. And specifically, we've identified 5 of them that we think are really critical for investors to be mindful of. One is artificial intelligence and digitalization, just how much more digital the world and our lives are becoming. Think about themes like cybersecurity, the cloud, artificial intelligence. The second is demographics and demographic divergence. The world is getting older rapidly. So in the next 15 years, there will be more people on planet Earth who are grandparents than grandchildren. We think about the climate transition, so growth themes like clean energy and electric vehicles. And we also think about geopolitics and economic competition. There's more competition in the world than ever between economies. And last, the future of finance. And honestly, Avenue is a huge part of the future of finance, helping investors access investments not just at home, but all around the world.
Yeah, and especially all these themes you talked about, we don't access in Brazil. So that's why investors need to go abroad to access all those things, yeah.
And not just Brazilian investors. We think investors wherever they are, the US, Europe, Japan, China, Brazil, should be taking a global outlook in how they think about capturing innovation in their portfolios.
Yeah, sure, and all these things you just said, they're all shaping the way we live, you know, all the economy, the population and everything, and that's kind of like something to pay attention to, right?
Yeah, and it's great for investors who can, not find it esoteric to talk about a particular investment, but to really understand its impact on their lives. Because if you can understand that, you can really get the thesis or the growth opportunity. You can see why an investment like this can help your portfolio, not just today, but for the next 5, even 10 years.
Yeah, it's actually a long-term thinking, right? Mm-hmm. And why does megatrend matters to investors?
It matters because, like we said, we can feel them in our everyday lives in good ways and sometimes in less good ways, right? So many people around the world have now played with what we call large language models, ChatGPT being the most famous. For a lot of us, it might already be making our jobs easier, right? It's easy to understand the opportunity that creates in artificial intelligence investments. At the same time, many of us, unfortunately, have faced things like identity theft, right, or cybersecurity challenges.
Yeah.
Likewise, it's easy to understand how an investment in cybersecurity is a really important long-term growth trend that can support a portfolio. So across our experiences, we're really feeling these themes day to day.
Our life is actually online right now, right? Everything we do.
It is. We're online right now.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So cybersecurity is like one of the huge things we should pay attention to.
100%.
Yeah, nice. Talking about advantages of investing in megatrends and everything you just said, what would be for investors?
So specifically within BlackRock and within thematic investing, megatrends, megaforces, I'm responsible for ETFs. And ETFs are an amazing technology and vehicle for investors to own the themes of the future. And the reason for that is instead of having to think about a theme, say genomics, and pick one biotechnology company that's associated with it, instead we can provide through one single ticker a whole basket of different stocks, maybe 50 of them, that are all tied to the theme. That makes life very easy for the investor. They can get a diversified investment at a low cost, and they don't have to risk picking the wrong company. If the theme succeeds, the ETF should succeed along with it.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of content about ETFs and all the benefits, the advantages. So everybody who's watching us, I'm gonna change to Portuguese just a little
Please.
bit. Mas vocês que estão assistindo, a gente tem bastante conteúdo sobre ETF, então vai estar aqui no card, vai estar aqui no link da descrição também. Se você tem dúvida, quer aprender mais sobre ETFs, não deixa de clicar e acompanhar, tá? Let's get back to here.
Right.
Okay. So, let's talk about AI. It's something that everybody's talking about. You talked about ChatGPT. And I had my first experience with ChatGPT was actually kind of like, I was like, what just happened? Because I asked it to write something for me, and he was giving comparison about the Brazilian stock market index with S&P 500. And it actually gave me an information that I was kind of like, I don't know if that's correct.
Yes.
And then I asked him, what's the information here? And he came back to me and said, oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, is there someone else talking to me? Because that was weird. Mm-hmm. And to think that he gave me an information that wasn't right as well was kind of like so scary. So what do you think about AI? Where are we going? It's growing really fast, right? Mm-hmm. So
look, as with any amazing tool, it's all in how you use it. And so I remember when I was a student in college, for example, Wikipedia was just becoming very popular. And so a lot of people would see Wikipedia and think, oh, this is like the encyclopedia, right? It has all the right answers. But the reality was there was some great information on Wikipedia and there was some wrong information on Wikipedia. And it took people a little while to start figuring that out and using it appropriately. You know, I think with these large language models, again, you have to be really thoughtful. It can feel like this is the easy button for everything and you can copy and paste what's coming out of one of these large language models, but we really have to be thoughtful and vigilant. And like, I applaud you for sort of asking the question and being suspicious. So these things are incredibly powerful. They're going to transform the way that we work, but they're not going to replace the work that we do, right? So today, these models are incredibly useful for thought starters, right? Helping you think about initial ideas that you want to get down on paper. They're great at editing things that you write. They're great at tailoring things to particular voices or even translating them from English to Portuguese. But the human still has to be involved in the process. But over time, you know, as did Wikipedia, honestly, they'll get better and better. The data will get better and better. But critically, we'll all get more comfortable using them. And not just these general purpose models like ChatGPT, but very specific models that might help you write marketing language or a speech, or that might help you design a logo for your company. You'll see more and more specialized versions of these tools, and people will learn exactly how to use them and deploy them in their own lines of business.
Yeah, I think if we do know how to use it, it's going to be very helpful. It's not going to take our jobs, it's just going to make us better, I guess.
100%.
But do you think there's any chance that AI eventually like starts thinking for themselves? Because I know a lot of people talk about it, like I know not now, but it's evolving really fast. So do you think it might get to that point where it does whatever it wants, not what we want.
As convincing as artificial intelligence is at making us think that it's actually thinking for itself, what you have to understand about most of the large language models that people are using is it's not thinking, it just looks like it's thinking. What it's actually doing is predicting. So it's absorbed, in ChatGPT's case, a massive amount of information from all across the internet. And what it's effectively learned to do is, this is how sentences and informations are constructed, and I can put words together and sort of guess what the most likely next word is. That looks like the way that a human thinks, but it's not identical, and it certainly isn't capable of operating on its own. But to go back to what we were talking about a moment ago, it's incumbent on humans to be thoughtful in how we use this technology and not let ourselves be fooled into thinking that it's actually being creative on its own.
Okay, yeah, because like I said, I had that feeling when when ChatGPT talked back to me and said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake," and I was like, "There's someone out there, yeah,
there's someone hidden behind the screen." Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about cybersecurity. I want to go a little bit deeper on that. So, like I said, everything we do is kind of like online, so we do need to worry about that. How investors look to cybersecurity investing opportunities?
Yeah, so this is one of the most important growth areas in sort of megatrend or megaforce investing. And the reason for that is, as our lives, to your point, become more and more digital, as more of our information is available online, and by the way, artificial intelligence is only going to accelerate that trend, because AI is only as useful as the information it has access to, and for it to be more useful, it'll have access to more and more information. That puts us more at risk. It makes cybersecurity that much more important at the individual level, to be sure. Think about things like identity theft. At the corporate level, there's a great study from Morgan Stanley that essentially looked at, in a recession, what would chief information officers or chief technology officers, what technology would they be willing to cut at their companies? And dead last every time is cybersecurity. This is no longer a discretionary expense. It's critical for these companies. And then the government level matters quite a bit too. As geopolitical competition around the world sort of continues to escalate, it'll be in the economic sphere, but it'll also be in the data sphere. And so you'll see a lot more cybersecurity preparation on the parts of government around the world. And when you put those three things together, the component for the individual, for the corporation, for the government, that's a megatrend, right? Around the world, across use cases, this is going to be growing structurally over time.
Yeah, when it comes to corporation, I see here at Avenue, we do a lot of things thinking about cybersecurity, telling everybody to, so yeah. How about health tech, like comes biotechnology? What can you tell us about that?
So this is one of the places that I'm personally most excited about. And the reason for that is the impacts on people's lives are immeasurable, right? Yeah. So certainly for investors, there's an amazing opportunity in the growth of genomics. There's an amazing opportunity in the growth of neuroscience, but also think about what that means for people's lives. So as I mentioned, the world is getting older. That's a good thing, but there are some negative things that we know about that, right? The longer people live, and we want them to live longer, sure. The more likely they are to develop forms of cancer. The more likely they are to develop dementia. So that means we're going to have more and more of these diseases being prevalent in our population. And that means it's incumbent upon us to find more solutions. So genomics is going to hold a lot of the future cures for cancers. Companies and governments are spending significant amounts of money on research and breakthroughs in these areas. And really, it's the last 20 years in which genomics has kind of taken center stage, in which we've developed an amazing understanding of the human genome. When you think about neuroscience, I would say the next 20 years are going to be the story of us getting an understanding of the brain. And again, that's going to be so critical. If you think about recent drugs that have been discovered just in the last year or so, they're the first effective treatments against Alzheimer's in almost 20 years. And some of these drugs, they can actually slow the progression of the disease by 30%. So in a disease that has sort of think about it as a 10-year disease process, if you can get 3 more years with your loved ones where you have real quality time, that's invaluable. Yeah. So for all of us and for investors, genomics and neuroscience, incredibly important.
Nice, that's amazing. And clean energy, I mean, it's something that we also need to look, right? We have all the climate changes and everything, so a lot of companies are changing the energy they use. So what about clean energy?
Yeah, as we talked about with cybersecurity, there's the individual level, the corporate level, the government level, and here again, everything is sort of rowing in the same direction. So the government level is particularly critical. You know, the US recently passed legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, $370 billion towards clean energy investments. We're expecting similar legislation to come out of the European Union, ultimately trillions of dollars of spending to support the shift to cleaner and greener economies.
And this is something a lot of governments around the world are paying attention to. They're making policy changes through this, and so it's something that's gonna be, I think it's gonna be very different from now to like 50 years.
I think so,
yeah.
and I hope so. I think it's critical. We were just talking about the fact that this is one of the hottest end of winters on record in Sao Paulo. And when I flew down from New York, it was one of the hottest end of summers that we had ever had in New York. So, you know, this is a topic that's on people's minds. It's literally making them sweat. And, you know, over time, we are going to work on these problems. We are going to solve these crises. And investments in things like clean energy and electric vehicles are going to be a really critical part of all of that.
Perfect. So everybody who's watching us, if they want to invest in all these themes we talked about, they can do it by using ETFs, right?
iShares ETFs, and our partnership with Avenue is incredibly important to us, and being able to give access of iShares ETFs to investors in Brazil looking to go offshore is a real privilege for us, and we're excited to be partnering so closely with you.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you as a partner, and to give access to all these investments to our clients and to all Brazilian customers and everything. So do you have any message you want to leave to everybody who's watching us?
Yeah, look, the message I would leave is there are amazing investment opportunities right in front of us that we can feel in our everyday lives, that we can see the way that they're pushing our economy and our society forward. They're happening around the world, they're happening across sectors, they're happening across geographies, and ETFs, thematic ETFs in particular, can help investors access these trends through one ticker without having to pick single stocks, and in that way, own your own slice of future in your very own portfolio.
Perfect, Jeff. Thank you so much. We do have a lot of material regarding our partnership and about Megatrends, so everybody who's watching us can take a look in everything we have. It was a pleasure to have you here. I think I just said that, but yeah. And thanks, Jeff. It was really insightful and everything. So
Pleasure is all mine.
Yeah. Bom, pessoal, por hoje foi isso. Obrigada por todo mundo que ficou aqui com a gente. Acho que o tema foi super legal. Não deixem de deixar o like de vocês, de seguir o nosso canal, né, e continuar acompanhando todos os vídeos que a gente posta. A gente vai divulgar aqui na descrição, né, alguns materiais que falam sobre megatendências, que falam sobre BlackRock, né? Então não deixem de acompanhar e a gente se vê numa próxima. Até mais!